Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the array.map function in JavaScript. So this function is normally used a lot of times by React because of its declarative nature. So we're going to check out what is declarative nature of it. But first, we need to understand what problem it solves and how to use it. So to get started, in modern JavaScript development, working with arrays is a daily routine. While looping in JavaScript, we often use the for loop to get the job done. So this is the syntax of the for loop. So I'll just open up my VS Code. So this is a basic JavaScript file. And whatever we are going to do here is, so imagine a scenario whereby you want to append the arrays item or each fruit you want to assign to add a suffix of the length of that item. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you want to have upper 6. Let me just show you what we want. Finally, we want something like upper 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oranges 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oranges 7. So this is what we want to achieve using JavaScript. So without using the map function or without even thinking about it, how would you tackle this? So the first thing we could do is for instance, we could use, let's just write a pseudocode. So what do we want to achieve? The first thing we need is to create a brand new array, brand new empty array. The next thing we need to create is loop through the existing array and push the new item to the empty array, push the new item to the empty array and appending or suffixing the array the item's length. Console.log result. So let's see how this one should work. So the first thing we need to do, create a brand new array. So I can call it we need to use descriptive names. So we can say fruits with suffix is equals to, we create a brand new empty array, and then the next thing we said, loop through the existing array, pushing the new item to the empty array, suffixing the item's length. So this is the syntax for the for loop. So for let I is equals to 0, whenever I is less than fruits.length I plus plus. So this is the syntax. Then so how the loops work, by going through each item. So at array, this is the counter. So we start at 0, then we go to the condition. So whenever I is less than fruits.length, so the length of the fruits is 1, 2, 3, 4. During the first iteration, I is equals to 0, and then I is less than fruits.length, and then when the loop ends, we go to I plus plus. So during the first iteration, what will we get? I is equals to 0. Okay. All right. Yes. So I is equals to 0. And by array, we talk about array indexing in JavaScript. So array indexing says you start from 0. So to get the first element in JavaScript, so first element, we use this syntax. So we call the array, then give it this square brackets, the index. So the array index 0 is apples. Index 1, purple. Array, oranges. So this is how array indexing works in JavaScript. So we are currently looping through the range. So our first range is 0 to 1, 2, 3, 4. 0 to 4. And 4 is not inclusive. What am I meaning? We are starting with I at 0 and going through all through to less than the fruits.length. So that means the fruits.length is not included because we have to counter the array indexing starting at 0, but the counting starts at 1. So I hope I'm not losing anyone. I'm not making anyone to get lost. So what we are saying is that we are looping through the range. We're not actually looping through the items, but the range happens to be the range of the indexes of the array. So as I have said, let's check this again. We are starting at array index 0. When it is start at 0, then we increment. We'll go to array index 1, 2, 3, 4 until we reach a point whereby it's less than the length. So it means 1 less than the length. So we are going to loop 1, 2, 3, 4, not 4. So we need a 0 because indexing starts at 0. We are not looping through the fruits. We are looping through the range. Okay. Now the range will help us. We can index using the range. At the first iteration you have 0, second iteration you have 1, third iteration you have 2, fourth iteration you have 3. So we can use array indexing to grab the item. Now what have I done? So we do this. So we can do something like, there is a method in JavaScript arrays called array.push. So the array.push, so this has array methods. You can do like this. We have something called array.push. So this one pushes an item to the end of the array. So let's get going. So what we can do, what do we want to do? We are already inside the loop. So we can say let item, this is declaring a variable called item, is equals to, we want to get the item. So we can use the array indexing and the range. So the reason we do this is to make sure we are not outside the range of the array. So we can say let item is equals to fruits of I. I is dynamic. We said I starts at 0, goes to 1. So we'll start with, during the first iteration, I is 0. We'll start with fruits of 0. What is fruits of 0? It's apples. Okay. The next thing we need to do is to push. Dot push. So the dot push is an, you can even see. So that push new elements to the, appends new elements to the end of an array and returns the length of the array. We don't care about the length. We just want it to push to the end of the array. This one. So what can you do? What do you want to push? We want to push the item. And then we can use this syntax because we want to add a variable dynamically. So we can push the item and then push the item.length. We said we want this scenario. So we want the item, and then at the end of the item, we add. So at the end of the item, we add the length of the item. So this is exactly what we are doing. So this is how we evaluate variables dynamically in JavaScript, but there's an also simpler syntax Now we can say we want the item, and then we can add the item.length. This is the same way. So after achieving that, so let's go through the first iteration. During the first iteration, fruits of 0 will be apples. So item will be apples. And then we said the pushes to the end of the array. So this is our array. We want to push to the end of it. What are we pushing? We are pushing the item. And since item is a string and the items.length is a number, JavaScript will change this to be a string. So let me just show you that. If I go to node and I say TechWithTwin +6, you see, JavaScript will change this to a string and append it at the end. So that's exactly what we want to do. So item, and then we append it to item.length. This is exactly the same. And then finally, fruits with suffix. That's exactly what you should do. So if we come here in console log, we got it. So we get the apple 6, purple 6, orange 6, 7, etc. So this is a bit too much code to write, and that's why JavaScript has an alternative. So the alternative is the map function. I'll add this as a gist so that you can go through it. So you see for loop. Then now we need to use the map function. So what is the map function? So to use the map function, the first thing you need to do is to call the map function on the array. So what is the array here? This is the array. So if we can say, so we can say const, we can even use const fruits with suffix is equals to fruits. So the map function returns a new array. That's why we are assigning it to a variable. And then we say dot map. What does dot map take? It takes in a callback function. So this is a callback function. And what does it take as an argument? It takes two arguments. The first argument is the item itself and the index. Okay. Let me just show you my callback. I hope anyone knows how to write. So we can just do this. Don't want to make you. So I can call my callback there. So the map function receives one argument, which is a callback function. And the callback function takes in two arguments itself. So the first argument it takes in is the item. So the item, you can think of it as the individual item in the array, item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4. So you can be descriptive of the name. So we can say it takes in a fruit. And then it takes in an index. You can say index or I. And then whatever it returns here is whatever will be the new value. Okay, so if I say return TechWithTwin, the map function runs for each individual, runs the callback function for each individual item, passing it in the item itself and the index. The index is also optional. Okay. So, but we can use it, but we're not right now using it. So if I console log this, what do you think we will get? So if I say node test.js, you see what is happening? So we are just getting TechWithTwin, all that. Why? Because the callback function to the map function is whatever is returned is the new value, is what is pushed to the array. So since this is our array, let me show you what will happen. So our array initially will be empty. Then it runs for apples, and then it calls the callback function, and the callback function gives us TechWithTwin. It goes to the second item, passing in it the item and its index to the callback. It gets TechWithTwin. So I hope you are getting what happens here. It is running this function on each item of the array, passing in it the item itself and the index. So back to our question. What can we return for each item? We can return item plus item dot length. Not item, we use the fruit. Plus fruit dot length. Okay. So what is happening? We said the map function takes in a callback and it runs this callback on each item in the array, passing the item itself to the callback plus its index. So currently we don't need the index. The index is optional. And then if we come here and now, you see, we get the same scenario as we had. And then to make this a bit simpler, because this is a one-liner, and there is something you need to understand about JavaScript is that we have three types of function. We have arrow functions, anonymous. These don't have a name. And built-in function. Built-in functions, anonymous functions. I think this is the same. So we have anonymous function is similar to like an arrow function. Yeah, this is the same. And then we have named functions or user-defined functions. So the arrow functions has a very simple syntax like that. That's a function in JavaScript. And this is what we call an explicit. So this is a function. This is a function. And this function has something called, I don't know, is it explicit or implicit? Either of that. Let me use implicit. We have an implicit, meaning it returns automatically. So whatever is on the right hand side is returned automatically. Okay. So we can tidy up this function to make it a bit simpler to work with and do something like, which argument do we need? We need the fruit. We don't need the index. And then we return fruit plus fruit dot length. This is what we call the arrow function. So this is the arrow function in practice. And then now we can remove this, and the function is a bit simpler. But in case you have multiple lines of code, this one won't work because you cannot start writing code here. It wants one liner simple return. So if you have more things to do, maybe you have to create a new value, do all those stuff. Then you come here and you now need to return. So whatever is returned, otherwise it won't work. So you return the fruit plus fruit dot length, just like that. And if you go here and get the same answer. So just note that the arrow function needs one liner return. It will have to return itself. Whatever is written here is returned automatically. No calculations, simple calculations. You cannot have multi-line, and it returns automatically. You just have to note that. This is arrow functions. But this one will return immediately. So I say cow here, it will return cow immediately to the function, but it still works the same. So it still takes in a callback, and the callback has an implicit return. So you return the cow, but you can do simple calculations like you can also add the index. Then I come and say I. You take in the I get apples 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. And that's it, guys. So that's how you use the map function in JavaScript. If you have any question, leave down in the comments. I'm going to attach this gist in the description below. Thank you, and make sure to subscribe to this channel.